So after a year of F1 trying to get some kind of sprint race into the Grand Prix weekend, they finally have an agreement to run what they're calling sprint qualifying for 3 races this year, probably Silverstone, Monza and somewhere else. So how will this actually play out? Why are they doing it? What will the consequences be, and is it good or bad? And F1 aren't the only ones trying something new. The millions of people in the Skillshare community are learning new things every day. Skillshare offers thousands of inspiring classes for people looking to develop their skills, be it from scratch or to take their existing talents further with help from the teachers producing classes across a variety of areas. Most classes are under 60 minutes and broken down neatly so you can fit them into your schedule whether you're a busy bee or have time to binge learn. Are you into digital illustration? Well, lots of people are using the iPad app Procreate to produce stunning work, and Jaram Vogel's Procreate class will get you confident in using the app so you can start making artwork of your own. Premium Skillshare members get access to this class and the many thousands of others for less than $10 a month. And Skillshare are sponsoring this video, so they're offering the first 1,000 viewers 30% off an annual premium membership when they visit Skillshare Chamber 05211. The link is in the description. You should click it for 30% off today. Thanks, Skillshare. Now let's find out about sprint qualifying, guys. To detail exactly what they're doing, it's best to compare it to the existing weekend structure as we know it. To make sprint qualifying work, the whole weekend has to be restructured. A normal weekend has 2 session slots on a Friday, 2 on a Saturday, and 1 on a Sunday. On Friday, we see the first 2 60-minute practice sessions for drivers and teams to hone their cars into the track, test some setups and new parts, and do some mock race and qualifying runs in preparation. Saturday sees a third 60-minute practice session followed by qualifying in the 3-part elimination format we've had since 2006, in which the lowest performing cars are eliminated at the end of each part until we finish with a top 10 shootout. On Sunday we have the race, a 300km run from lights to flag in which the top 10 finishers and the driver with the fastest lap get points. This is the only point scoring part of the weekend. The sprint qualifying format keeps free practice 1 first thing on a Friday, but the second Friday practice is now normal qualifying, as was previously held on a Saturday. 3 parts, with drivers eliminated in each part with a top 10 shootout. The first session on a Saturday is now the second and last practice session. 60 more minutes to do any final data gathering. The second Saturday session is now the new sprint qualifying session. This is a race. It's a 100km long race, so a third of the length of a normal race. Depending on the track, this will put it somewhere between 25 and 40 minutes in length, and pit stops are not expected. The grid for this race is set exactly by Friday qualifying, with no twists or reversals. The idea is to have flat out running from start to finish, perhaps with the purest racing you'll see, as you would expect everyone to go with the same tyre compound through the race. At the end of the sprint race, the top 3 finishers will be awarded 3, 2 and 1 points. There will be no podium. The celebration will be similar to the post-qualifying vibe, with interviews and a single trophy for the pole sitter. And I say pole sitter rather than winner because the results of this race in its entirety will become the grid order for the full Grand Prix on Sunday, which will be functionally identical in format to any normal Grand Prix. So if you win the sprint qualifying race, you are the pole sitter for Sunday. That's the format in general. Now let's break down some of the details. There have been a few adjustments to the normal rules to make this work. In the normal race weekend, parc fermé conditions apply from the start of qualifying on Saturday, and these basically lock the car down at that point. You can't make any major setup adjustments, add or remove parts, or work on the car at all really, other than a few exceptions for safety, plus tyre changes, filling the car with fuel and minor front wing adjustments. The car you send to qualifying is the car you run all the way to the end of the race. In sprint qualifying format, parc fermé is brought forward to lock down the car from before Friday qualifying until the start of FP2. And the FIA will allow some changes, so FP2 isn't a complete waste of time. They haven't yet clarified what these will be exactly, but they are likely to be minor. The cars will return to parc fermé at the start of sprint qualifying. You can also replace certain parts like for like if they get damaged or worn, like if you smash your front wing off or want to replace your brake pads. If you run out of like for like components, you can of course bolt on an old one. The main reason for bringing parc fermé forward to Friday is to stop teams building and setting up a car just for qualifying, only to spend all night changing it back into a car fit for the actual race. That is a waste of everyone's time and resources. Challenging them to set up a car to perform across all competitive sessions is a much better endeavour. Okay, so how do tyres work now? Let's just focus on dry tyres for the moment. In a normal weekend, each car gets 13 sets of dry tyres of various compounds. This year, as in 2020, Pirelli are choosing the range of compounds that each team gets for each race to simplify things during the pandemic, but in previous years the teams could choose their own selection. So normally 2 of these sets of tyres are set aside just for the race and cannot be used until then. One of the soft sets of tyres is reserved for Q3. You can use the other tyres as you wish, but you have to hand back 2 sets of tyres at the end of each practice session. So at the end of FP1, for example, you can pick 2 sets of tyres which you will no longer be able to use. This leaves 4 sets of tyres to use across qualifying, plus you get a Q3 tyre if you make it into the top 10 shootout. If you do make it into the top 10 shootout, the tyre you set your fastest Q2 time on is the tyre on which you must start the Grand Prix. The Grand Prix itself allows all of your remaining tyres, the 5 tyres left for qualifying plus the 2 tyres reserved for the race. In a sprint qualifying weekend, it's similar but different. This time, drivers get just 12 sets of tyres for the weekend. 5 soft tyres will be reserved for qualifying, but one of them must be set aside for Q3 as before. This time, however, you don't have to use your Q2 tyre for the race start or the sprint quali start. 2 sets of tyres will be reserved for the race as before. Of the remaining 5 tyres, drivers can use 2 sets in FP1 and 1 set in FP2. They can also use 2 sets of tyres for the sprint qualifying race. They'll only be expected to use 1, of course, but some teams may try something wild with a soft, one-stop strategy maybe. We see this sometimes in Formula 2. If Friday is wet, the teams will get an extra set of inters, but they'll have to give them back before sprint qualifying. And if sprint qualifying is also wet, the teams can swap a used set of inters for a new one. Okay, so that's how it's all going to work logistically. Now let's ask, why are they doing this? A contentious point, I know. Firstly, I think it's important to say that this is a divergence from the usual failed attempts to spice up the racing by messing with qualifying. You know, they'll try and do reverse grids or that weird timed elimination qualifying or other weird ideas to try and make the actual Grand Prix more exciting. If anything, this system will have no benefit on the Grand Prix at all. In fact, it may even make it more predictable, to be honest. In a normal weekend, if you mess up qualifying, you'll have to spend the Grand Prix fighting back to where you think you belong. In this weekend format, if you mess it up in qualifying, you've got a 100km race to start catching up and then another 300km race to do the rest. I mean, that could be an extremely fun 400km though. We've seen drivers like Perez absolutely make lemonade from a poor position. You could say that sprint qualifying just lengthens the race by 100km with a 24-hour red flag period in the middle. And that's kind of what it is, to be honest. So what is the point then? Well, look. Friday practice sessions have already been cut by an hour overall since last year, but we still have 3 hours of the cars tootling around the track before qualifying, the first competitive session of the weekend. Yes, it's nice for diehards to watch the cars on track in free practice, but there's not much going on really, is there? And the more they practice, the less unpredictable the races will get as the teams gain more and more data. It's better to give the teams less to work with data-wise and just get them out there with their talent and instinct. So now they only get 1 hour of practice before barreling straight into qualifying. This could cause some serious headaches. They'll want to get in some hot lap practice before quali, but also need to do some warm-up laps and hone the car in. Expect Friday practice to be busy and stressful. This, combined with Friday qualifying, means Friday suddenly becomes a really interesting day instead of 2 hours of chilled test runs. Every moment is crucial now. Saturday practice will be more chilled than Friday, but now teams have to put their energy towards race setup, and they only have an hour to do it. So again, more time pressure, less time to faff about and wait for decent track conditions. You just have to get out there and get the laps in. So overall, across the weekend, we have 3 competitive sessions and 2 arguably high-pressure practice sessions. Previously, we had 2 competitive sessions and 3 fairly chill practice sessions. If everything works, the energy of the weekend will be lifted. Rather than try and disrupt the weekend or shake up the order, this is actually meant to make each session more exciting and more valuable. Of course, a downside is that qualifying is actually a pretty awesome part of the weekend, and a lot of people just won't be able to watch it on a Friday afternoon. If you're at work or school, that makes things much trickier for you. Hopefully your broadcaster will run full repeats of the sessions on Friday evenings. It is really hard to make judgment on whether the sprint qualifying race itself will be good or not. I think it probably will. By eliminating the mandatory pit stop and running it over a shorter distance, you're forcing drivers to take positions out on track. There will likely be some management of tyres, when to push and when not to, but you will just have to try and fight if you can. And let's be honest, there's going to be some incident and accident in the sprint quali. Getting a higher grid slot for the Grand Prix will be high reward, and getting some damage or dropping down the order from risking a move won't penalise you as much as it would in the race. You've still got 300 kilometres of race to make it up if things go really wrong. I'm all in favour of trying things out. I think we'll learn something from this, even if we learn all the negative things and decide to scrap it or make massive modifications. It's only 3 weekends and I think it could be fun. And here's an important detail. Ross Brawn says even if it's a massive success, he wouldn't expect it to be implemented for every race. So perhaps this could be the start of custom qualifying for custom events. Sprint qualifying would suck at Monaco. You can't pass there, so what's the point in adding half an hour more racing? But at a track where there's opportunity for good racing, yeah, sure, why not? Sprint qualifying. And I would go further, to be honest. I'd make Monaco one-shot qualifying, where drivers go out one by one to set a lap. Tracks like Monaco would be suited to that. A mixture between one-shot, elimination and sprint qualifying, dependent on the track, could work really well if perhaps, mess with tradition and homogeneity of the sport. I don't know. What do you think? I think there's potential here. Overall, I am glad we're doing this. I think we have to approach this with an open mind and analyse not just its failures, but its successes too. From that, we can work out the best possible format for a Grand Prix weekend.